uScope system testing continued. In this video, I will show you how to use the uScope to test the digital mass airflow sensor, crankshaft speed sensor, throttle positioning sensor, current ramp amperage for all fuel injectors, fuel injector voltage, and manifold absolute pressure sensor. Digital mass airflow sensor testing. So let's probe this digital mass airflow sensor here. So I'm going to go right to the battery because that's going to be the best ground possible. And the next is we need to back probe this white wire right in here. So I'm going to real carefully get in here, making sure we don't damage the insulation. There we go. So let's measure a digital mass airflow sensor. This is on a brand new 2023 Camry. And I had to create a brand new preset for this because my last preset was an analog one. So let's go ahead and go to the menu and let's go down to presets and let's go back down to user preset. Let's go ahead and press and hold OK on 67. And there's my reference file for my digital mass airflow sensor. I'm just going to go ahead and turn that off. There we go. Now let's go ahead and we'll start the car up. And then I will also change the RPMs, and you're going to watch the frequency number change because that's going to represent that change in the airflow going into the engine. So we'll let that stabilize just for a minute. And now let's give it some gas. A quick throttle bump. And once again, if we want to take a closer look, you simply put it on hold. And then you can come back over to your time and spread it out. Crank signal position sensor testing. Carefully back probe the crank signal at the connector. Connect the ground lead to a good ground. Let's navigate to the menu. Let's come down to our presets. Let's press OK. Down to user setup. There's my crank signal. Let's push OK. There it is. Let's go ahead and take off our reference file. Turn that down, turn that off, click OK. And now let's go ahead and start the car. So now we got our crank signal, and if we want to, we can capture that, push the A button, and we can stop it. If we want to get just a little more time on this, we can navigate over this way and put a little bit more time on so that we can see 2 cycles possibly. So you get that reference right there. And if I do want to get a closer look at this, I can always come over, hit my position. I can actually come over, first of all, let's reduce the time. And now let's come over and do my position. And now I can cycle through this and look at my reference point, and we can come back to the other reference point. There it is right there. Press and hold it, and that'll put you back in the center. And then if we want to go back and change our time back, we can change our time back. Throttle position sensor testing. Connect the ground lead to the negative cable. I will use the back probe pin to back probe the red and black wire for the throttle positioning sensor. On this vehicle, it's easier to unplug the throttle positioning sensor to back probe the red and black wire and then plug the connector back into the throttle positioning sensor. Next, I will set up the uScope and operate the throttle. So let's go ahead and measure the TPS. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to come over to my menu, and this time when I go over to my presets, I'm going to use one of the presets that's already configured inside the uScope, and that's going to be under sensors. So if we continue to scroll through this, we're going to find a TPS with 5 volt reference. I'm going to go ahead and press OK to hold that down. That's going to go ahead and load that reference file. And now I'm going to hook up to the car and turn the key on and operate that TPS. And for right now, I'm going to leave that reference file on. So let's come over here and operate this throttle. So let's go full throttle, closed, and do this several times. It's going to go fully across the screen and then it's going to stop because we are on a single trigger right in here. Now if I want to take a closer look at that, I simply navigate over to my time and I'm going to reduce that time. And you'll notice that the reference file also gets reduced in time, so we can do a close comparison. And if I want to scroll through that, and I want to lower that time, but I want to really scroll through each one of these cycles, I'm just going to go ahead and navigate over to my position, hit OK once till it's flashing, and now I can scroll through each one of these patterns for my comparison. And if I want to get back to the middle position, because this -50 up here, that's showing the position we're at, just press and hold the OK button for a second, and then we're going to go ahead and change that time back to what it was at. Okay. Now one of the things I do like to do when I do my captures is I do like to have it at a smaller time, so somewhere around 200 milliseconds. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to turn this reference file off so it's not going to be in my way. Let's come on down to my presets. Let's come on down to my show reference, turn that off. So I actually like to capture this at the smaller time right over here. And so I have a preset that has it at 200 milliseconds, but everything else is pretty much the same. So in order to go ahead and put this in the set mode to be able to do this one more time, let's go over to your trigger here and let's change that to normal and then change that back to single. And now let's go ahead and operate that throttle a couple times. This time I'm only going to get probably 2 on the screen. So I did operate it 3 times, but I think what we're going to find out is we only got 2 on the screen. And this is something I like because it automatically gives me that closer look. But you can do it either way with either more or less time on it. So let's go ahead and do our amperage for all our injectors. Let's go back to the menu, go down to our presets, go down to our user setup. And now let's go ahead and find our setting for our injector all. Now I want you to see something. I'm going to load this. And you notice it didn't really load properly. So let's try this again. Let's come back over. Let's go down to presets. Let's move it. And let's go to injector all. Injector amperage all. Hold down the OK button until it loads. And you notice here we've got it set at 10 amps and the reference file is really small. So I just tested this. I have a new preset. So let's come back over. Let's go to our presets. Let's go to user presets, and this time I'm going to be looking for number 52. And that's the last one that I did. Let's hold that down and load that. And I want you to notice we're now at a 0.5 amp right here, and our reference file is much larger. And I turned on the minimum maximum. So let's go ahead and start the car up and make this measurement. To current ramp injectors, I will be using this amp clamp. I will select the first setting, which is 100 millivolts equals 1 amp. With the scope on, press the 0 button to 0 the clamp and the scope before clamping it around any wires. The yellow and black wire is common to all the injectors, so this is the feed wire. I followed the harness to a connector near the hood prop. I found a yellow and black wire that just happens to be the injector feed wire. I can clamp the amp clamp around this yellow and black wire, very similar to using a fuse buddy to current ramp at the injector fuse. If you don't see the waveform, you may need to turn the amp clamp around or use the invert feature on the scope. So let's go ahead and plug in. And you can see that my pattern is right on top of my reference file. So let's go ahead and make that change. Let's go down to my vertical and let's go down to my reference voltage position. And now I can move that up or down if I want to compare that. Or we can come on over here and we can turn that off, go down to presets, go down to reference show, turn that off and press OK. Let's go ahead and hit my hold button right there. And let's take a closer look at this. So it's not uncommon to have a preset that doesn't quite work out, that you have to change some of these settings or make a new preset. This is a 4-cylinder. I wanted amperage on all 4 of those injectors. That's why I didn't put a smaller time frame on that. However, I can now take a closer look at that by navigating over to my time and reducing my time. And now I can take a real close look at the amperage. And if I want to take a closer look at the position, I can simply come over to here, push position once, push OK once, and now if I want to scroll across that pattern, I can scroll across that pattern. Press and hold the OK button, and that'll put you back to the center position. And then if you want to go back to less time on it, you can simply come over here, and then you can do less time, and then you can go back to your original pattern. Let's go ahead and measure injector voltage. Let's come back over to my menu. Let's go back down to my presets, back down to user setups, and now let's navigate over to find my injector voltage. There it is. Press and hold the OK button until the name turns green. That loads the reference file, and we're now ready to make our measurement. Alright, so for our individual injectors, if we take a look, we'll see that I've pulled this back a little bit, and you can see the black and yellow wire there. And what you're going to notice is that this black and yellow wire is also here, and on this one, and even on that one, which is a little hard to see right now, but if I pull this back, that's my black and yellow. This one here, black and yellow, and this one here also black and yellow. So that's my power feed. So if I want to do my injector trigger signal, we're going to be in the other color wire. In this case, I'm going to do this injector number 1, cylinder number 1. So we'll come along and we'll do our back probe into that brown wire right there. Then we'll go ahead and ground my uScope. So let's connect up to the car and start the engine. Let's plug the scope in. We can now see that we have our waveform and it's sitting right on top of our reference waveform. Let's move that reference waveform. From the menu, choose vertical and down to reference voltage position. Now I can move the reference waveform up for a side-by-side comparison. Or I can open the menu and go to presets and turn off the reference waveform. Oops, that didn't work, so back to the presets and turn that reference waveform off. Now if I need to look closer, I can press the A button to put it on hold. Now I can navigate over here to change the voltage and move it down for a better pattern. I can change the time a little bit to spread that out so I can take a closer look at the waveform pattern. Manifold absolute pressure testing. So we're just going to come in and use our back probe right into that. So I'm going to come in, grab my ground for my uScope right here. So let's set this up to do our manifold absolute pressure. So let's go to menu. Let's go down to our presets. Let's go down to our user setups. And now let's navigate over to our manifold absolute pressure voltage. And press and hold the button down until the name turns green. That will load up my reference file. Let's start the car up and make this test. So you'll notice that we are on a single trigger and we're waiting for a voltage value above that trigger. So let's hit the accelerator. And we did that a couple of times, and now we can see, and we're comparing that to our reference file. Plus you can see we got our minimum and maximum. And if we want to see this without our reference file, we simply go back to the menu, down to the presets, go down to turn the reference off, hit OK, and now we have it with the reference off. If we want to take a closer look at that, all we need to do is come on over and move over to our time right over here, and we can decrease the time so we can see that a lot better. If we want to see more vertical, we can move over to the voltage, we can lower that voltage down, and now we can see up higher. Now it is getting into my numbers up in there, so if I need to see that, I can simply come over to my meters, and I can go down and turn my meters off. And now we can see that real clear.